what you'll need for this to make your salt dough is some plain flour, any old flour, and then some table salt, cheapest salt you can get, a bit of water, a circle template, and some masking tape and a tea light. So we're going to make up our salt dough mixture now, and you'll need 1 cup of flour and half a cup of salt, and half a cup of water. So if you're making tiny little things, you can obviously scale the recipe down, or if you're making lots of things you can scale it up, but it's just 1 part flour, half a part salt and half a part water. So just give the salt and the flour a bit of a mix together. This will be plenty for what we're doing, and you'll have some extra salt dough left over. And then gradually add the water, mixing as you go. Because you don't want your dough to be too soggy. If it does feel a bit soggy, you can just add a bit more flour or a bit more salt as well. Now you're going to roll out your salt dough. You won't need all of this for what we're doing. You can use maybe about half, just under that. And as with when you're rolling up clay, just lift it up and pop it back down as you're going along. If it gets a little bit sticky, do pop a bit of flour down. You can pop a little bit on the top surface as well. If there's any little tears in it, you can just push it back together. And use a tiny bit of water and just stick it back. There we go. So you've got your sheet. Now you need a thin card or thick paper template, and it's about 1/3 of a circle. So drawn out a big circle, cut 1/3 out, and then this is going to form our template. So we're going to use it flat first of all to cut round. Do keep any spare bits. If you wrap them in cling film and pop them in the fridge, they'll keep for a good few weeks. Now we need this to form a cone. So I'll just curl it round and pop a bit of masking tape on. Roll your salt dough around your tube. Like so. And where there's a bit of an overlap, you can add a bit of water there just to help it stick. And smooth it in together. If you've got any little modelling tools, it would be useful for blending it over. If you don't, a butter knife would work quite well. And then just go over that with a tiny bit of water to smooth it off. So now you've got your shape, we can cut lots of little holes out of it. If you've got any straws, they make really nice uniform holes. I think for mine I'm going to go with all different sized holes. So just going to start cutting little holes in. You can do other shapes, of course. You can do little diamonds if you want. Or bigger holes. Don't go too big with the holes because it needs to still be able to hold itself up, so you don't want to compromise the strength too much. And then to neaten up the holes, you can get a paintbrush just with a tiny bit of water. Just clean up those edges. After it's baked, you can paint it, and then it will go over the top of a little tea light like this, and the light will all shine through the holes. If you want to, you can also make a little tray for the tea light. I'm just going to show you how I do that now. So with a bit of spare salt dough, I'll roll out a small circle. Find something round to cut round. Pop your tea light in the middle, and you can curl your salt dough up around the tea light. You want a bit of wiggle room, because as it dries in the oven it might change shape a little bit and probably shrink a little bit as well. These will need baking, and you want to pop them in the oven about 180 degrees, so quite low. Depending on the size of your piece, they might need to be in there about 2 or 3 hours. If you've got some parchment paper, baking paper, that'll help it not to stick. You definitely don't want to put this cone in the oven with the paper, because that could be a bit flammable, paper or card. Parchment paper you're fine, or baking paper. So you might want to just leave the cone to air dry for a little bit before you try and pull it off. A couple of hours, just so it's got a bit more strength. I'm gonna demonstrate a really simple way of making another type of salt dough tea light holder. I'm starting off rolling a ball between my hands. Get it really nice and smooth. I'm going with something that's about Satsuma sized. And pop a little bit of flour on your tea light. This will help it release. You can pop a little bit on the very top of the ball of salt dough. And then very slowly press the tea light down. Make sure it's a nice even round shape. And then very gently lift out your tea light, and you can pop this in the oven now and paint it when it's all dry.